This action is forced to marry because of a pregnancy by Decca's toss. Like so the link to the video will be the description below. Go and check them out. So let's into this reaction in 3, 2, 1.
When 24-year-old Ethan Brooks collapsed at his sister's wedding reception, everyone
Really?
thought he'd had too much champagne.
Too
But
much
in the
pain.
ambulance, when the paramedic pressed on his swollen abdomen, Ethan screamed in pain, and the paramedic's face went white. At the hospital, a doctor delivered news that made Ethan's world stop spinning. And
Yes.
3 days later, his family gathered in his room with their minister and made a demand so shocking, so controlling, that Ethan realized his perfect life was about to become a prison.
Really?
What the doctor found inside Ethan's body, and what his family forced him to do because of it, would change everything forever. Ethan Brooks was the golden child of Connecticut's Brooks family. At 24, he was finishing his master's in architecture at Yale, engaged to Amanda Sterling, a senator's daughter. His father, Richard, was a federal judge, his mother, Catherine, sat on charity boards, and everything
Yeah.
about Ethan's life was
Oh, is that a baby bump? You look like it.
planned, proper, and perfect. Until one night 3 months ago changed everything. At an architecture conference in Boston, Ethan met Marcus Rivera, a construction worker renovating the conference center. Marcus was nothing like Ethan's usual circle,
Yeah.
working class, tattooed, from the Bronx. But he was genuine, funny, and made Ethan laugh. They talked for hours, then went to Ethan's hotel room. It was supposed to be one night, a secret. Ethan flew home the next morning, buried the guilt, and
Yep. You look like he looks like eating a baby bump.
never contacted Marcus again, until his body started changing in impossible ways.
Yeah.
8 weeks later, Ethan felt constantly exhausted and nauseous. His stomach grew firm and round, not like normal weight gain. His chest felt swollen. Foods he loved suddenly repulsed him. Maybe see a
Really?
doctor, Amanda suggested, noticing his baggy sweaters. You've gained weight really quickly. Terrified, Ethan finally made an appointment. Dr. Patterson examined him, his expression shifting to shock. I'm ordering immediate blood work. The next day, Dr. Patterson called urgently. Come to the office immediately. At the office, the doctor asked an impossible question. Is there any chance you could be pregnant? Ethan laughed nervously. I'm a man. That's not possible. Your HCG levels suggest otherwise. We need an ultrasound now. On the screen appeared a baby, moving, with a flickering heartbeat. 24 weeks developed. You're 6 months pregnant, Dr. Patterson said quietly.
6 months.
Ethan's world
Wow.
stopped. Over 2 days, specialists ran every test imaginable. Dr. Patricia Chun, an intersex specialist, finally explained. Ethan, you have an extremely rare intersex condition. You have male external anatomy, but also internal female reproductive organs, a uterus, fallopian tubes, and ovaries. Additionally, you have an internal anatomical connection between your reproductive tract and lower intestinal area. It's extraordinarily rare, perhaps one in several million cases. What does that mean? Ethan whispered. It means during intimate activity, there was an internal pathway for conception to occur. Your natural testosterone is also lower than typical males, so your female reproductive system
Really?
remained active. You were
Really?
ovulating without knowing it. When you were intimate in
Really?
Boston, conception occurred
What?
naturally.
What?
Ethan couldn't process it. He had organs he'd never known existed, a body he didn't understand. And he was 6 months pregnant with Marcus Rivera's baby, while engaged to Amanda. His perfect life was over. Ethan called off his engagement with Amanda, explaining everything: the intersex condition, the pregnancy, Boston. Amanda stared in horror. You cheated on me, and now you're pregnant with another man's baby? You're
Yep.
disgusting. Get out and never contact me again. She threw the
What?
engagement ring at him. Ethan couldn't tell his family yet. He needed time. But 3 weeks later at his sister Victoria's wedding reception, the stress broke him. Severe cramping hit. Ethan collapsed in front of 500 guests. At the hospital, doctors discovered the truth. Dr. Chin told his family, Ethan is 7 months pregnant. He has a rare intersex condition. He's experiencing preterm contractions and needs bed rest. Catherine fainted. Richard turned purple with rage. Victoria stood frozen, her perfect wedding ruined by scandal. For 3 days, his family barely spoke to him. Then they arrived
Oh,
together with Reverend Thompson, their faces grim. Richard stood at the foot of Ethan's hospital bed, his voice cold. You've brought
mm,
shame to this family. We've
really?
consulted with Reverend Thompson. There's only one acceptable solution. Reverend Thompson stepped forward. You must marry the father of this child immediately. It's the only way to make this right. What? Ethan couldn't believe it. Catherine's voice was ice. You will contact this Marcus person. You will marry him before the baby is born. Or you will be disowned entirely. No money, no education funding, no home. You'll be alone and penniless with a newborn. I
What?
barely know him. Ethan protested. You can't force me to marry a stranger. You have 24 hours to decide, Richard said. Contact
He Morgan is the father. You assume movie because he's the father, so
him and agree to marry, or we're done. They left Ethan alone, crying, his hand protectively over his belly. That night, Ethan called Marcus, his hand shaking. Hello. Marcus sounded confused. Marcus, this is Ethan Brooks from Boston. I need to tell you something. I'm pregnant. With your child. And my family is forcing me to marry you. Long silence. I'm sorry, what? Ethan explained everything. The intersex condition, the internal anatomy, the pregnancy, his family's ultimatum. I know this is insane, but I'm desperate. If we don't marry, I'll be homeless with a newborn. Please. Marcus was quiet. This is crazy. I need to see you in person. Tomorrow. Marcus walked into the hospital room the next afternoon, stopping when he saw Ethan's pregnant belly. That's real, Marcus breathed. That's my kid. Yes. They
yeah.
talked for hours. Marcus was angry Ethan hadn't contacted him sooner, overwhelmed by becoming a father, but also conflicted. I grew up without a dad, Marcus finally said. He left when I was 3. I swore I'd never do
Oh
that to my
goodness.
kid. So yeah, I'll marry you. But not because your family demands it, because that baby deserves 2 parents who are trying.
Ooh.
Ethan felt relief and dread. Thank you. One condition, Marcus added. We try to make this real, not just a legal arrangement. We try to build something for the kid's sake. Okay, Ethan agreed. 3 weeks later, Ethan and Marcus married at the
Baby
Brooks
bump.
estate. Ethan was 8 months pregnant,
That's a baby bump. Baby bump.
barely fitting into his suit. Marcus wore a borrowed suit, looking uncomfortable among Connecticut society. The ceremony was cold and tense. Richard looked like he was at a funeral.
Really?
Catherine cried bitter tears. Victoria barely spoke. When they kissed, it was awkward and brief, 2 strangers playing forced roles. At the reception, Ethan overheard his mother. At least they're married now. We can tell people it was a whirlwind romance. Ethan felt humiliated. This wasn't a celebration, it was damage control. Marcus moved into the small apartment the Brooks family provided,
Yeah.
far from the estate, keeping Ethan close enough to control but hidden from view. The first weeks were awkward. Strangers sharing space, connected only by the baby and a forced marriage. But slowly, something changed. Marcus was kind. He learned to massage Ethan's back pain. He
Really?
stayed up talking when Ethan couldn't sleep. When Ethan felt scared about the approaching birth, Marcus would hold his hand and say, We'll figure it out together. Why are you being so nice? Ethan asked one night. We're both trapped in this situation, Marcus replied. We can either make each other miserable or try to make something good. I'm
Yeah.
choosing to try. My family made me feel like I'm shameful, like I'm broken. You're not broken, Marcus said firmly. You're different. Your body is unique. But that doesn't make you less. And our kid? This baby is a blessing, not a scandal. It was exactly what Ethan needed to hear. At 39 weeks, Ethan's labor signs became
Oh. Oh.
concerning. Doctors performed an emergency C-section, complicated due to his unusual anatomy, but the team was prepared. Marcus held Ethan's hand through it all. When their daughter was born, healthy, perfect, with dark hair, the nurse placed her on Ethan's chest, and he sobbed. She's beautiful, Marcus whispered, tears streaming.
Oh.
Absolutely perfect. They named her Sophia Maria. Holding their daughter,
Severe
Ethan
movie.
looked at Marcus, this stranger who'd become his partner, and felt something shift. Maybe this forced beginning could become something real. Today, Sophia is 6 months old. Ethan and Marcus are still figuring out their marriage, learning to be partners and parents. Some days are hard, most are somewhere in between. Ethan's family remains distant, visiting Sophia occasionally, but keeping emotional distance. But Ethan has found unexpected freedom from suffocating expectations, from a life that wasn't truly his. And Marcus, the working class man his family looked down on, has
Oh, what a lovely couple. Oh,
become the most genuine, supportive person in Ethan's life. What began as obligation is slowly becoming something that feels like love. Can a marriage forced by ultimatums become real love? Can two strangers become a true family?
yeah,
Ethan is
yeah,
learning
can
that
you?
sometimes the life we're forced into becomes the life we never knew we needed. And sometimes the families we're born into aren't nearly as loving as the families we choose.
Who?
What would you have done in Ethan's position? In Marcus's position? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Because sometimes, against all odds,
How we do that something? How we do? How we do that something like eating thing? Yeah, that's literally that something. Yeah,
something beautiful
and I also do the something marketing too. Yeah.
grows from impossible beginnings.
Wow, that was is forced to movie because I repeatedly but that got tossed. The link to the video will be the description below. Go and check them out and drop a like if you like and comment below if you want to see more reaction like this one. And subscribe if you're new and click the bell so you can be notified from me below in my bye. Wow.